Hello, this is Pride, and today we will meet a man who gets standing ovations after performances in the world's leading concert halls. We have been planning our meeting for more than 2 years and finally met here in Almaty, in his home city. Today we're getting to know Renat Salavatov. Renat Salavatov was born on November the 5th, 1949 in Shymkent, Kazakh SSR. Soviet conductor and composer, People's Artist of Kazakhstan and Tatarstan, honored artist of the Russian Federation. Chief conductor of the Tatar State Academic Opera and Ballet Theater named after Musa Jalil. Conductor of the Mariinsky Theater in St. Petersburg. Conductor of Royal Opera in the Stockholm. He works as a guest conductor with leading orchestras around the world. The project, initiated by his longtime friend Dusan Kasanov, became the reason for his visit to his native country. Kasanov is the head of the International Organization of Turkic Culture, let's say the ambassador of the Turkic culture throughout the world. Well, for me, this warm meeting with two of them at once became a gift on a warm day in early autumn. How did you come up with the idea of this tour with the Turksoy Orchestra and the invitation of Renat Salavatov? How did it happen? Personal contacts. For sure, that's the first thing. But it is not so easy to catch you in your busy schedule. But we communicate and manage to find time. Of course in advance, because he has his own concerts, his programs for each year, probably already for the next year, but I called in advance and said the next year there will be a tour. I want to do it not in Europe. At the same time, so that Renat would come here to Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. By the way, he has never been to Baku. Can you imagine? Yes, Europe is not interesting to me. I'm interested in this. Europe is not interesting to him. Earlier, we performed in Europe, in America, and this year we decided to spend in our countries. But there is one more thing. I was going to appoint the place of rehearsal the city of Turkestan, since, you know, it is our second Mecca. Not only for Kazakhstan, but also for Central Asia, for the Islamic world. This is one of the such important and historical cities associated with the name of Hoja Ahmed Yassawi. I think the youth should know that fact. And secondly, it is a continuation of the fact that we declared it the capital of Turkic culture. And now it must be constantly saturated with such scientific artistic projects. And so we arrived there, and I remember that he lived in Turkestan, but his passport says that he was born in Shymkent. But his mother worked in the district committee of the party, so she apparently gave birth in Shymkent and returned again. Well, now people go to Europe to give birth. Earlier they had to go from Turkestan to Shymkent. Is it true Shymkent is always indicated as the birthplace of Renat Salavatov? But he spent his childhood and made his first steps in music in Turkestan. It all began there for the world-famous maestro Salavat, and once a thin boy with a cello. I remember when somewhere in the 60s we went to Moscow to the old Kremlin Palace and a new one was being built, right? Yes, Mansour was a conductor. No, not the Kremlin, it was different. So it was before you. It was another time when I was in the Kremlin. There was extraordinary congress of the party. I was about 14, 13 years old, and suddenly a car drives into the Kremlin and stops right in front of me, and Khrushchev was sitting in it with his head bowed. It turns out that the next day he was removed. That is, you saw those historical events right in front of me. We were walking right inside the Kremlin. We had a concert in the Kremlin Palace. You performed in the Kremlin at the age of 14. Well, how should I put it? He was in a general orchestra. I was invited here to the student orchestra and I was studying in the school. I do not know if it was done to strengthen or to weaken the group. I will tell you what, today, few people remember him as the student of the 8th grade, but I remember him at that time. That is, you know each other since then. Since then we know each other and since then we are friends. To tell the truth, there are long breaks when we don't see each other for a long time, especially when we were still here and he went abroad. In the summer of 1966, at the Chamber Orchestra of Radio and Television in the Republic of Kazakhstan, back then the Kazakh SSR was invited to Kyrgyzstan, to Bishkek. Two promising singers were picked there and they had to record Kyrgyz folk songs, some covers and something like that. So we left. I was a first-year student back then. I have finished the first year of the conservatory. And so a boy with a cello appeared in our orchestra. His name was Renat Salavatov. And he was an 8th grader. First he used to rehearse with us, then we went to Bishkek together. And then there was filming, do you remember, on a small boat. What was it called? It was 1966, the time when Ballet 66 film was released. We remember this movie. But the most interesting thing is that his creative destiny as a conductor was connected with that orchestra. After that, he left for Moscow, special school as a cellist, then the conservatory. And then he graduated from the conservatory there, then went to Petersburg, and after graduation we met. By the time he was studying in Petersburg, I entered graduate school at the Moscow Conservatory. He used to visit his friends. Of course, he was closer with them because of the age. No, I used to come from school. Well, from school, yes, but also you used to come from St. Petersburg to Moscow. Exactly the same young musicians as Dusan Karabayevich and Renat Salavatovich, back then young people, with a light in their eyes, eager for realization, recognition, success. Such musicians play in the orchestra of Turksoy. Performers from Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, Turkey and Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan and Tajikistan gather here to get together for a year, perform through a variety of scenes of the world and go back to their own ways, giving way to the next ones. Of course, working with young musicians brings joy. These are students from Turkic states: Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Tatarstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan. The General Secretary of Turksoy, Dusan Kasainov, created this orchestra 10 years ago. This is 10th lineup. They change. And every time it is different people. Within a week, we gathered in Turkestan, prepared this program and started touring around the cities. And what is it like to work with youth and experienced ones? These are two different things. It's good in both situations. What is the key difference? The young people want it. You get it? Light in their eyes? Yes, it may not always be the skills of experienced orchestras, the big famous ones, but the young people want to do it. They are interested. And this energy is very charging us, the old conductors. Work with a young team brings satisfaction not only in the process. After all, the result is no less important, and the result is amazing. A tour through the cities of Central Asia was successful. The maestro was satisfied, and that fact is worth a lot. Today I took the Tchaikovsky Serenade and began to listen to it. You'll find a lot of performance on YouTube. And suddenly I realized we are no worse. And our pace is more interesting and modern. And most importantly, I took a record of the orchestra in the famous hall in Amsterdam. People were also clapping between parts. Tourists, that is the audience, there is also unprepared. This is the best hall, and it has its own audience, and it claps between parts. I'm trying to stop it somehow, at least make him show a sign to stop it. And he says, let them clap. They liked it. A tip, please note that it is not accepted to applaud between the parts of the same piece when the orchestra plays it. I'll tell you what, now people clap in the big hall of the Moscow Conservatory and in St. Petersburg. Now people clap everywhere between parts. But apparently you have accepted it. Earlier there was an elite audience. We knew what kind of audience it was. Now basically the audience is absolutely democratic. Now, public is more touristic, I would say. That's why I said tourist. Is it good or bad? Good. What is it like to work for the unprepared audience? You know, somehow at some point they suddenly get an insight and they start liking it. This is unusual for them. After this pop rock music, after these decibels, they suddenly hear acoustic music and it somehow affects their emotions. They don't understand what's the matter, but begin to applaud in the end. That is, the artists don't care that people came wearing sneakers, jeans, that they have no idea what they are listening to now. Is it okay? No, the time is different. But you saw the past times and you see nowadays. Do you also have to transform? But I can't do anything. I have to put up with it. That is a time. We can't change anything. Soon, conductors will perform in sneakers. Already I saw conductors with a mohawk and skinny clothes, and I have already seen conductors with pierced noses. Do you know why? This is a phenomenon. We need to somehow attract. Before it were musicians, conductors. Now, the showmen, conductors, have appeared. Do you understand? When they want attention, not with their music, but using some other side effects. You get it? Hairstyle, shock and behavior, the time is totally different. You also mean elements of the show that Marat Bisingaliyev uses, lighting effects, for example. It is not to attract the public by any means, because earlier the audience listened to music. Now the audience watches, do you understand? Everything has changed. To you, by the way. Television. Having a solid experience of performing in most famous concert and opera halls in the world, nevertheless, Maestro Renat notes with special warmth how pleasant it is to play at home. And the public's preparedness has nothing to do with it. To give pleasure to people who are not used to classics at all is also a great joy for the master. The audience now comes to the opera house, listens to these huge performances. But for example, in South Kazakhstan, people say they have not listened to such music for a long time. How good that you came, yes, that's unusual for them. They're tired of this club music, and here they listen to this. For them, this is some kind of revelation. The trouble is that they did not get it when they were growing up. There should be a musical education in schools and kindergarten. Stockholm has been the permanent residence of Renat Salavatov for many years. But according to the maestro, a person feels good everywhere where he is calm. When you are in Almaty, where do you go first? I walk in the familiar streets and yards. I even remember Stalin Avenue. Then it became Communist Avenue. Now Ablayhan. See, I remember 3 names. He didn't tell you before, he loves Almaty. Many people love Almaty. But among us, even if he lives far, he still comes here. He is still attracted to it and rests in Almaty. Yesterday, a phrase in our conversation touched me very much when you said it is good everywhere, when it feels good in your heart. It's good that there are no cities where it's bad. Everywhere, Renat Salavatovich feels comfortable. Everywhere, it is inherited from the nomads, but in reality, he feels better in Almaty anyway. In Almaty, I feel good. In Almaty, it is better for him. So come more often. I do. This is good. I come, and the city is happy. Now, after some time, I have a meeting with the director of the theater. I definitely can't say what exact surprises this meeting will bring to Almaty music fans. But there is no doubt that this fall, we can enjoy the opera conducted by Renat Salavatov. And secondly, our contemporary duet has a lot of plans and ideas. Will you take part? With pleasure. I need just your part, we will manage. Just say for which part we will handle. Well, which soloists in the first place, no problem. Choristers, no talk. With pleasure, but this is an amazing, unifying project. Yes, yes, yes. In general, of course, omitting all the jokes about the age of both my interlocutors today, I can endlessly marvel at their creative energy and openness to experiments. As an experienced and talented producer, Dusan Kasainov seems to never stop working and generating ideas. That is precisely why he manages to implement projects that, on the one hand, impress with courage and scope, and on the other hand, touch with their humanity and warmth. So-called creative villages were built by his initiative in the mountains in a Turkish province where composers can create in a pleasant atmosphere while they rest at the same time. Do you remember?
I could not imagine that I would be visiting the composer Yerkegali Rakhmadiev here in Turkey, in a picturesque place called Shymkent. The Turksoy organization has built a real creative village, where each of the houses is named after one of the outstanding composers of the Turkic-speaking world. We'll go to the house of Yerkegali Rakhmadiev. There was a grand opening with the flags of Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan and many others. At the moment, we only have the portraits and the inscription on the house. Gradually, we plan to put some materials about these composers, some books about them, and their records. This is a cultural integration. Yes, we want to provide music records that people could listen to and at the same time learn something new and discover the music of composer. The first visitor of the village were well-known composers together with young people. It's even better and it's even more interesting to them. When we welcomed the second group of visitors, among them were Yeremia Likhachova from Azerbaijan, who is also a very young composer, and Alsu Singatulina, both of them at the same age, around 30 years old. Here, Erkigali Rakhmadiyev. Yes, here we are visiting Erkigali Rakhmadiyev, quite unexpectedly, in Turkey. It is remarkable that Turksoy provides musical life for the works created here by the musicians who came to visit such creative villages. This great idea was realized because of a great initiative of this organization. I entered the conservatory when he was the rector. And of course, we kept in touch until the end of his life. He was my life teacher, my spiritual instructor. And now his students come here to visit and to live here. By the way, Beybut Daldenbaev lived here too. And what did he think of all this? Oh well, he was delighted. They were all happy to see each other. Kasinov is very outgoing, and he never ceases to be amazed at the greatest gift of human communication. The life in the big cities consumes us, and we often don't have time for friendly meetings and sincere conversations. It is painful to realize that friends of youth, wonderful musicians who played a few strings together with their musical instruments, don't get to see each other often, sometimes meeting once every 10, 20 years.
На меня это такое произвело впечатление. Я задумался, что же сделать.
When I thought about it, I was so appalled, and I thought, what can I do to get them together?
Собрал в Алмате, потом в Астане.
Then I gathered them in Almaty, then in Astana, where we held concerts. Then we all met in Bishkek.
Мы снова вошли в ту же колею, а с тех пор уже.
And so gradually it created a pattern. Since then, other composers joined us. And, as a continuation, this spring we held the concert of women composers of the Turkic world. They participated at the opening of the Creative Village. The idea immediately captured me. This was the place to do it, because it's like the holy mountain of Nauruz. And Turksoy promotes Nauruz all over the world. You know about that, of course. We already celebrated Nauruz in Europe and in Germany and in Austria. Every year we change places. This year we celebrated in Constanzi, Bucharest, Kishinev, and Comrade.
As for Renat Salavatov, he also has many creations as a composer. Some of them evoke fond memories, and not only among my interlocutors. After all, songs that were heard a few decades ago by everyone also play a considerable part of Almaty history and culture. A gifted child plays music since his early ages. Everyone cries, but life does not only consist of studying classical music, but there is another side. There is other music. He has been writing music for a long time. By the way, he's never announced as the conductor. You know how they love him. Even if he's not there, they announce all his ranks and all orders, everything, although the scene never requires it.
Хотя сцена этого никогда не требует. Даже слово профессор не нужно. Для сцены нужно единственное, звание когда давали, а сейчас и званий нет.
And now there are no titles, so he's also a composer. So if he were like some of them, he would always write a composer everywhere. I just remembered, by the way. He wrote one song, a school song, but he found its words at our place. He often visited our house. In that legendary apartment at Mira Street 50. Yes, Mira Street 50. He is also one of those who have often been there. After the performance and before the performance, sometimes he stayed, but during the bachelor years, and he found the lyrics of this song in our toilet.
текст этой песни нашел у нас в туалете.
In the Lenin shift, that's for sure. And the author, I don't know. Taisia Shevchenko, unfortunately deceased. Really? Yes, a long time ago. And then the young poetess, correspondent in the Lenin shift. Yes, Lysakovsk of the Kustanai region. Do you remember this song?
Промчится вечер выпускной с грустинкой северного лета. Не смеют передать поэты, какой он нежно-голубой.
A platinum record was even handed to us on Republican television at that time. Then now I don't know whether people sing it or not. I have not been here for a long time. Lucky Kesoglu recorded. Then the last Darigan Nursultanovna recorded the video in 2001. What were the first lyrics? Well, prom. And prom, yes, it is called graduation. Very good school song. And Nagimaya Yaskalieva and Tles Kashgaliev were the first to sing it on television. So it was your first work. But not the first, but one that was successful somehow. He sang The Green Train. It was played on Mayak radio in Moscow. These are very beautiful songs. I think they need to be renewed again. It all went away. But why? I feel that way about my compositions. It seems Renat Salavatov only takes the classics seriously. But here, you know, there is always a reason for jokes. I remember well Shurechka, the wife of Dusen Karabayevich. One day I went to our theater. I met her at the corner of Furmanov and Kalinin then. She says, well, where are you going? I say, well, to work. And what are you conducting today? I said, Yevgeny Onegin. She says, how long can it last? And now I have to conduct it. This is my performance in Kazan, in other cities, and at the Mariinsky Theater. When I go on the stage, I immediately remember, how long can it last? Do you understand? How much can you dance one leg? How much can you sing Yevgeny Onegin? But this is our job, our work, and the audience is different. We are the same. Nishev was Lensky. Serkibayev was Onegin here. All the same. Well, if life and profession command the master year after year to give the audience again and again the same operas as many years ago, then we viewers can only enjoy the brilliant creations of great composers and the virtuoso performance of musicians. Yevgeny Onegin, by the way, is present in the repertoire plan of this season, and due to the fact that the creative and professional ideas of our maestro do not end, we will hear the great opera under the direction of Maestro Salavatov. After all, the tour that started in Turkestan is only the beginning of big plans for work at home. Our arrival showed both Kazakhstan and the Turkic world that we turned our eyes to places where people say they never listened to such music, never heard the chamber orchestra, not talking about the level. They never heard symphonic music. That's why we went there, and everything went perfectly. That is, what have you even become discoverers? At some point, yes, and it's nice to celebrate your anniversary this way. 70 is a real anniversary. But you like to joke that not 70. Well, yes, I called him saying, listen, I remembered, you will be 80 next year, right? He says, not 80, just 70. Well, right, you always have to think just 70. Then you can live up to 90. While saying goodbye to Renat Salavatov and Dusan Kasainov, I certainly hope to see them soon. And where? At the theater, at the premiere, or on the Almaty or St. Petersburg streets during a walk. Time will show. The new season of our Pride program has started, and you will see many meetings with people from Kazakhstan that have managed to succeed in various parts of the world, but still remain Kazakh in their hearts. See you!